Before starting a negotiation between client and supplier, let's illustrate how a public or private organization can request and arrange the sale of a service. The supplier creates his or her user account, setting up their company profile. After which, he or she will request activation of the service to Welcome To. The service requested could already be present, and so the supplier himself will proceed to associate it to his or her actor through the menu choice Set up a new service, creating its price list, policy, etc. Or the service isn't yet present within the platform and will therefore be ontologically configured by Welcome To's customer service, who will arrange placing it online of Welcome To. The platform configuration is now completed, hence the purchase-sales act between supplier and client can begin. In the example, some contracts regarding sales that the user is handling are now being shown. Analyzing the shadow mask contents that we find under the voice Purchase Negotiations, we can find all of the processes of the contractual phase. From the dashboard, one can carry out basic operations in an immediate and intuitive fashion, such as the request for any extra intervention for existing contracts. In the configuration section, we can find a very useful display that allows us to set up our company. Only if all of the present voices carry the green icon can we proceed to the normal use of the system. Contrary to this, some functionalities may not be available. The process can be selected by the icon Select, which will allow us to start the sales act externally or internally to the company. The request will be sent via email to the supplier of the service just chosen, who will continue to make the process advance. Once the access is carried out, the supplier can manage the configuration of his or her account, but more so validate the negotiation. Accessing the system, he or she can manage the first phase, which is that of internal control. During all of the process phases, Welcome To guarantees the exchange of messages, documentation, and files of whatever nature. Let's analyze in detail the various contractual phases. The first step is represented by internal control. In this phase, the supplier verifies the feasibility of the request and validates it, making the process advance. In the phase of data acquisition, the client must fill in all the information requested by the supplier. This information will be presented automatically structured according to what was defined by the supplier during the project phase. Right after the data insertion by the client, the diagnosis will take place and the supplier will receive a notification and will be able to analyze the request, potentially carrying out a program design. The not always necessary phase of programming will be brought forward by the supplier to express a correct plan to present to the client. The client is now ready to re-examine the project and will validate it, communicating his or her impression and any notes to the supplier for the internal re-examination, which is the phase where the supplier involves the work personnel, who, analyzing the project, will guarantee duration and deadlines. The supplier now makes an offer, presenting the client with an estimate. The client re-examines the offer, subsequently accepts the estimate and contract, completing the process and thus executing the purchase order. But what happens now? Client and supplier have started a relationship relative to a maintenance service. The contractual information and agreements made are always visible and selectable from the contract list of Welcome To. From the contracts list, one can furthermore choose to start a scheduling plan of the ordinary activities that have been arranged. In this phase, Welcome To checks the configuration state to launch the scheduling. In case of an incomplete configuration, the system provides the necessary information for the completion of the configuration. Through New Ticket, it is possible to request assistance planning an extra type of activity. Finally, the menu Connection widens Welcome To's potentials, making a subcontract of activities assigned to other sub-suppliers possible. The activities are now available to the operator who, directly from the field, can attest that the intervention has indeed taken place, returning detailed data images which will be immediately usable by company executive actors. The same data will furthermore be usable in real time for the production of report prints, verifications of the workflow of the activities, plannings, expectations, and data warehouse. Enter the world of welcome to and adapt to change.